Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, distinguished guests, and above all, friends. It is my humble pleasure to welcome you to the European Congress of Radiology 2019, and thanks for coming in such great numbers. Please allow me to say it in Italian, benvenuti a ECR 2019. I'm sure you have all noticed that our motto for this year ECR is the bigger picture. There are many ways this phrase can be interpreted, and as you have seen from that stunning introduction and this incredible stage, we have taken it quite literally in terms of design. But what you have just seen is not only for this special occasion. We are exploring the possibilities to see how we can make future events in this room, including lectures, as exciting and immersive as possible. So please enjoy the visual spectacle this evening, and maybe you can begin to imagine how we might use these options for ECR 2020. But aside from this literal sense, I would like to share my thoughts with you on what the bigger picture means to me. This is the 25th ECR to take place in Vienna, and we are marking that milestone by making the Congress a little more spectacular than usual. But it is important to remember that every new Congress contains something of all the ECRs before it. ECR 19 would not be what it is without the tremendous successes of its predecessors. And therefore, we are not only celebrating the 25th ECR in Vienna, we are celebrating the bigger picture created by all 25. If you look closely, you will ever see this reflected in this year's poster. For not only are each of the previous posters' designs represented on the sea creatures, but they all combine to take the form of the numbers 2 and 5. As in a relay team, each president has passed the baton to the next one, has put his or her personality into the meeting, and all together have worked over the years to create the identity of radiology in Europe. And from 1991 we have come to these days. And these are tough times for Europe. There are many who are trying to create divisions, but I think that over the course of our 25 meetings, we have built a powerful unity among us, notwithstanding our many differences. We have worked to harmonize our discipline across Europe and have shown that together we are more than the sum of our parts. That together we can create a living bigger picture. Thankfully, people are not the same as their governments. We can get to know each other, work together, and even become friends, even if our governments may not be. In this respect, I would like to personally thank the presidents of all the previous 24 ECRs for their invaluable contribution to this bigger picture from 91 to 2018. And I would like to ask all former presidents of ECR and ECR who are present here in this room to stand up, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please. A big round of applause to the stars of European radiology. Thanks for all you have done all these years. In another sense, of course, the bigger picture refers to the idea that every one of us involved in radiology is a part of something much larger than ourselves. Each one of us is a small part of this wonderful discipline, and every step we take as professionals or trainees is a step on behalf of radiology. Together, we are all part of the big picture. It also refers to the idea that the ECR is where that picture comes into focus. For 51 weeks of the year, we are all working away in our various countries throughout the world. We know in the back of our minds that our colleagues are out there doing their jobs across the globe, but it is when we all join together in Vienna for this splendid meeting that it becomes more real and we get a much stronger feeling for the scale of the world radiological community. Even our colleagues who have had to stay home to carry on clinical work can get this feeling by accessing ECR online and attending the Congress from far away. But there is another meaning for this bigger picture, which is especially relevant this evening, because we are not so vain as to believe that radiology of this annual meeting is really the full picture. The ECR, our jobs, our work together, and our individual path, all of these things are part of another bigger picture for each one of us. We are, in effect, much more than an accumulation of training, work experience, and achievements. Our colleagues are not just people filling official roles. They are our friends, our supporters, our companions in journeys throughout long careers. Equally, as artificial intelligence and other new technologies light the way to an exciting future for our specialty, our human qualities, including our understanding of what it is like to actually to be in the patient's position. But may I ask you, do we always try to understand this for every patient we meet? Are more valuable than ever. These are aspects of our role that unite us, from the most advanced hospital to the smallest mobile clinic, especially in fields like ultrasound, where the same skills, both human and technological, apply throughout the world. Your characters and personal traits, and those of everyone who work or study with, all have an influence on what you do and how you do it. These might often be seen to be tiny details, but without them, the picture is nevertheless incomplete. So, these are the things we have decided to honor today. This grand opening is not a ceremony, it is a celebration of the radiological family, of the people and the personalities and lives that are integral part of it. On your seat, each of you should have found a booklet which accompanies this grand opening. Inside, you will find all the details for this special evening, including the musical guests. You will also find information about our gold medal and honorary membership recipients. In addition to what you see printed in the booklet, we have also extracted some personal information from each of the VIPs receiving the honor tonight, in keeping with the theme of the grand opening, the 5 senses. We asked them for this information, not only to give us a little extra glimpse into the lives of these outstanding individuals, but also to enable us to bring some unique personal touches to our presentations. We will light the stage in their chosen colors. We will play their favorite music. And amazingly, we will even fill this room with a special scent blended by an expert perfumer, which combines the most treasured smells of our esteemed guests. By doing so, we do not only recognize their achievement, but also the fact that each one of them has been driven by their own special inspiration and interests, because our personal passions and experience are often an underappreciated but fascinating parts of our stories as professionals. So, we hope to captivate your senses over the next hour or so, to draw you very slightly into the words of these wonderful people we are about to honor, and to send you away with the feeling that each of you, each of us, is also a part of something wonderful. And on that note, I hereby declare ECR 2019 open. Now, before going on, I would like you to join me in a little thought experiment. The World Health Organization says that medical imaging, especially X-ray based examinations and ultrasonography, is crucial at all major levels of healthcare. Yet, there are still many communities across the globe to whom these most fundamental imaging services are very hard to access or simply not available. We often talk about the incredible speed of technological progress that is made in radiology, but it is important to remember that while we are here discussing topics like artificial intelligence and pushing forwards the boundaries of imaging science, there are huge numbers of people around the world who do not yet benefit from our advances. For example, according to the WHO, out of 131 nations where data is available, 61 have fewer than one MRI unit per million of inhabitants, and 24 of those countries do not have a single MRI unit. So I would like you now to imagine what our lives would be without our modern modalities. Imagine our home countries would be affected without essentials such as ultrasound and radiography. Imagine a world without imaging. And now, imagine a world where everyone has crucial access to imaging technology that they need. I believe that together we are capable of affecting large changes. Maybe as a global community, we do have the power to achieve this ideal scenario. If you allow me to quote the poem, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Now, I would like to introduce you to a very special guest musician who contributed to that performance. Miriam Huning on the piano is not a regular member. She is not a regular member of the Vienna Arts Orchestra. She is actually professor of clinical epidemiology and radiology at the Erasmus University Medical Center, Rotterdam, the Netherlands. As well as adjunct professor of health policy at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, Boston. However, as it is true for many of us, Miriam's talents extend far beyond her chosen professional field, and today she has joined us not as a scientist, but as a musician. Ladies and gentlemen, again, please give a big hand to Miriam Huning.
Thank you.
Before we continue our journey this evening, there are some very important people to whom we should say farewell. In the last years, we have lost some significant figures from the world of radiology, and we will now take a few minutes to remember their works and life. Professor Margulis was so hugely admired within radiology and beyond that it is hard to add anything new to the many obituaries and tributes already written for him. I spoke earlier about our passions and experiences are such an important part of our professional stories. And Professor Margulis, or Alex, as he used to say he wanted to be called by all, own story is a remarkable example. He arrived in the United States as a young medical student, a refugee from the Nazi invasion of Yugoslavia, and armed with admirable determination, a natural aptitude for leadership, and an amazing generosity of spirit, he found his way into the very highest echelons of professional medicine and into the hearts of countless radiologists and scientists. He is widely acknowledged as being one of the driving forces behind the progress of imaging during his tenure at the University of California, San Francisco, and turned his department into one of the world's foremost centers of radiological research, clinical care, and education. Back in 1967, Alex was even the first person to suggest the concept of interventional radiology to describe the newly emerging specialty. His innumerable awards, which include honorary membership of the ESR, his role in the co-founding of the Society of Gastrointestinal Radiology, the International Society of Magnetic Resonance in Medicine, and the International Society for Strategic Studies in Radiology, and his enormous contribution to medical literature are how he will primarily be remembered on paper. But to the many who knew him or even knew of him, he will also be remembered as a visionary leader, an incredible mentor, and an extraordinary man. I have seen that his beloved wife, Professor Edvig Richard, is with us this evening in the middle of the room. And dear Hedy, there are no words that I can offer in this chance, but only a big hug from all of us. Now, let us remember Alex Margulis. Professor Ian Isherwood was a true leader of European radiology who served as president of the European Association of Radiology from 1989 to 1991 and the British Institute of Radiology from 1984 to 1985. Probably best known as one of the pioneering figures in the use of computer tomography, he championed the modality to such an extent that both the world's first heart CT scanner and Europe's first commercial whole-body scanner were installed under his leadership. But his impact extends beyond CT. His enthusiasm for embracing and exploring new imaging techniques also led to the first cryogenic superconducting nuclear magnetic resonance scanner in Europe being installed in the University of Manchester under his watch. Professor Isherwood's contribution to research and clinical applications of imaging technology won him many awards throughout his career. He was even made a Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire for his services to radiology. But just as importantly, his qualities as a teacher, as a leader, as a colleague, and as a person won him countless admirers and lifelong friends. I'm very happy that Professor Isherwood's daughter has been able to join us this evening, and I hope that she will take some small comfort from knowing how highly your father was regarded in his professional field. Let us remember Ian Isherwood. Of course, other members of our radiological family also departed in the past year. And I would like to, in particular, to remember Professor Michel Clodon, a strong friend of mine, who passed away in November. Michel was an outstanding radiologist with whom I have worked many years, and I will always remember the many film interpretation sessions that we organized and chaired at the European Society of Urogenital Radiology meetings. Now I would like to ask you to join me in a brief moment of silence as we remember the friends and colleagues we have lost over the last 12 months.
snares I have already gone. It was grace that brought me safe this far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been left and frozen deep, oh, bright shining like the sun, we have known this to sing God's praise, and when
Now, allow me to introduce you to our main musical guest for this evening, Doretta Carter. Originally from Great Britain, but now a shining star of Vienna's soul music scene. Doretta has been enchanting audiences across Europe for many years. And tonight, we are delighted to have her golden voice accompany us throughout the evening. We are also delighted to have a very special choir with us again. And dear Professor Baert, as a special reference to you and the early days of ECR, we have invited the Vienna's Boys Choir, or Die Sängerknaben, as they are known here in Vienna, to perform once again, as they have done in 1991 and on several occasions since. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to present this year's ESR Honorary Members Award. Honorary membership is of the European Society of Radiology. It bestowed each year upon eminent radiologists for their scientific excellence, international reputations, and achievements in national or international radiological organizations. Our three worthy recipients this year are Professor Michael Kavuya, Uganda, Professor Federico Lubinos, Bucaramanga, Colombia, and Professor Vijay Rao from Philadelphia, USA. As already mentioned, we intend to make our new honorary member feel especially welcome today. We have prepared a very special audiovisual thread for each one of them, including their favorite colors, their favorite music, and some unique elements we have chosen just for them. So, without further delay, I would like to present you our first honorary member. As an expert in ultrasound, Mike Kavuya is someone I have the pleasure of working with on many occasions. I believe we first met coincidentally in 1993, the year of he came first time in Vienna at ECR. So this is something of an anniversary for us as well. We have worked together many times since then, and I have been always impressed by his professional qualities as much as his character. It is fair to say that Michael's work has touched on just about every aspect of ultrasound imaginable, and his contribution to the development of radiology in Africa and beyond has been enormous. In particular, as the Secretary General of the African Society of Radiology from 2008 to 2017, and as a member of the Administrative Council of the World Federation for Ultrasound in Medicine and Biology from 2009 to 2011. Professor Mike Kabuya, Mike, in thanks for your incredible efforts, and as a token of our great respect, please enjoy our very special tribute to you. Michael, please join me on stage.
I'm humbled to accept this honorary membership and be counted worthy of joining other past and present recipients of this esteemed award. Special gratitude goes to the Executive Council of the ESR for selecting me and for sponsoring my attendance not only this time, but on numerous conferences, congresses. I'm indebted to my professors, teachers, and mentors for envisioning, guiding, supporting, and teaching me. Special tribute goes to Professor Henry Kasozi, Makerere University, Kampala, Uganda, Professor Barry Goldberg, Thomas Jefferson University, Philadelphia, and Professor G. Freer, ESR. Not to forget others like Professor Hassan Gabi. I greatly honor my parents who toiled to see me through school in Africa. It's not that easy. I would not have gained this award without the love, trust, patience, and loyalty of my dear wife, Petrina, who is here with me, and our 3 children, Peter, Elizabeth, and Stephen. I acknowledge the teamwork from my fellow faculty and staff at the Ernest Cook Ultrasound Research and Education Institute in Kampala, Uganda, which I head, and at Makerere University Department of Radiology, where I'm a professor emeritus. Above all, I'm full of praise to my God, from whom all blessings flow. My first recollection of the ESR goes back to 1993, when as a recent qualified radiologist, I shyly attended this Congress and was inspired to co-found several Ugandan and African imaging societies and to educate and train imaging professionals in Africa and all over the world. Thank you for this highly prestigious honor.
From Africa, we move to South America, the home continent of our next honorary member, Federico Lubinus, from Bucaramanga, Colombia. In Professor Lubinus, we have a perfect example of the multifaceted radiologist who not only has many professional interests, but also many private passions. In his working life, he has done great research in the field of Doppler ultrasound, renal transplant rejection, erectile dysfunction, and thyroid cancer. He presided over the Colombian Association of Radiology for 2 terms between 2014 and 2016. In his personal life, he is a lifelong animal lover. He is, in his own words, a good dancer. He is an all-round sportsman, and as seems to be often seen in case of radiologists, he is also an artist, having been a keen oil painter since childhood. Professor Lubinus Federico, in honor of all your fantastic work, and to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, here is our special gift to you. Professor Lubino, please join me on the stage.
It is a real honor for me to receive this recognition from the most important radiological society worldwide. I never imagined to be in this podium today, being given the honorary membership of the European Society of Radiology, as I never imagined being selected for the position of director of my radiology program or elected president of the Colombian Association of Radiology, or all other achievements encountered in life. That, of course, is not just a matter of luck. As for every accomplishment in life, it is the sum of the opportunities you have, the decisions you take, and the people you find on the way. And I consider myself very fortunate to have met very nice people that have given me a hand and have helped me travel the road. My mentor, Dr. Juan Carlos Mantilla, for instance, my wife, Joanna, with her advice and support, the staff of the Colombian Association of Radiology, and some very nice people that I have met during this journey, like Nicholas Gorsuyanis, Gabriel Creston, Paul Parisiel, or Boris Rashik. Thank you to the European Society of Radiology and to all of you for this great honor. Thank you for being nice people. Thank you.
Our third honorary member this year is from yet another continent, this time North America. Vijay Rao from Philadelphia, USA, is most likely known to everyone here, seeing as she is the immediate past president of the RSNA. As someone who was born, raised, and educated in India, moving to the USA at the age of 24, Professor Rao is a great example of how well radiology transcends borders. As well as reaching the highest office in North America radiology, she has also served as the first ever woman chair of the Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, the institution when she completed her residency in 1978. Her amazing accomplishments in the fields of head and neck radiology, as an educator, as a former leader of numerous radiology societies, make her a deeply worthy recipient of this award. Vijay, as a mark of our admiration for your achievement and symbol of our friendship, this is for you. Vijay, please come here on stage.
This is just incredible honor. Thank you, dear friend, Professor Durkee. I am just so humbled to receive this outstanding honor. It's just terrific. Truly very rewarding to have such recognition in your career. In my life, I feel I've been very fortunate to have had opportunities to grow professionally and personally with love and support of my parents and my family. And I'm really delighted that my daughter Geeta is here to celebrate with me tonight. I really dedicate this honor to my mentors along my life, colleagues, faculty at my institution, and really the institutional leaders at Thomas Jefferson University who believed in me and have supported me throughout my professional journey. To the young radiologists, I would say this is an exciting time to be a radiologist. I would like to encourage young trainees to get engaged and volunteer your services for organizations such as the ESR, RSNA, and other associations, because this is something you will find very rewarding in your professional career. ESR is a vibrant organization, and this is just absolutely an amazing evening. Thank you so much. It's really, serving as RSNA president gave me the opportunity to expand my network globally and to make so many friends across the world. And really, East meets West is how I feel about it. And it's been just an honor to work with all of you, with many friends in this hall, and to be recognized by the leaders of ESR. I am very grateful. Thank you so much.
Another picture. Okay. Now, we will take a short musical break before we continue with the presentation of the ESR Gold Medals. And please welcome Doretta Carter back on stage, this time with her band performing Fragile by Sting.
If blood will flow when flesh and steel are one, dried in the colors of the evening sun, tomorrow's rain will wash the tears away. Something in our minds will always stay. Perhaps this final act was meant to cure a lifetime's argument. Nothing comes from violence, nothing ever could. I was born beneath an every star, lest we forget how fragile we are. On and on, the rain will fall like tears from a star, like tears from a star. On and on, the rain will say how fragile we are, how fragile we are.
Thank you, the Reten Band. That was great. Thank you very much. It is now my great pleasure to present this year's ESR Gold Medals. The Gold Medal of the European Society of Radiology is awarded to outstanding scientists who work in radiology or allied sciences and have been active in the organization and establishment of European radiology in either national or international organizations. The three exceptional people receiving the Gold Medal this year are Professor Anna Maria Belli from London, UK, Professor Luis Donoso Bach from Barcelona, Spain, and Professor Valentin Sinitsyn from Moscow, Russia. Again, we will welcome each medalist to the stage with the colors and music of their choice and our specially created animations. So, please enjoy these little insights into the characters and lives of some of the most esteemed and cherished personalities in radiology. I am proud to present our first gold medal of the evening to a radiologist who, despite being born and raised in the UK, has a distinctly Italian heritage, as you can certainly tell from her name, Anna Maria Belli from London, UK. Anna Maria has had an outstanding career in interventional radiology, and her achievements mark her out as a role model for any young women who may be interested in working in the field. She has not only made substantial contributions to the literature in interventional radiology, but she has also left in the field as the first ever British female professor in radiology, the first, and so far only, female president of the British Society of Interventional Radiology, and the first female president of the Cardiovascular Interventional Radiology Society of Europe, CIRSE. Her contributions have played a vital role in advancing the subspecialty and hopefully in inspiring new generation of young women in interventional radiology. Anna Maria, as a token of affection and thanks on behalf of the ESR, please enjoy our special tray we have prepared for you. Anna Maria, please climb the stairway to heaven and come on stage.
Well, it is truly a great privilege and pleasure to receive this gold medal from the European Society of Radiology. I thank the Society, both personally, but also on behalf of interventional radiology, as I believe this demonstrates a commitment to promoting intervention alongside diagnosis. I see intervention and diagnostic radiology as two sides of the same coin. We are made from the same material. After all, many of us practice both, but we do have different outlooks. By emphasizing the therapeutic aspects of radiology, I think we strengthen the clinical rather than purely technical aspect of our discipline, and I think that is incredibly important in modern medicine. I think it's also the key to success in the future, where we face many, many competitors. By receiving this gold medal, I also hope that this encourages many more women to enter the field of radiology, both aspects, but particularly intervention, where we really lag behind many of our surgical specialties in attracting women. With more than 50% of medical graduates being women, I think it is clear that this is crucial to the future of our specialty. I thank you once again for this great privilege and honor. Thank you.
The flowers. It's a pleasure. Our next gold medal recipient is a man with whom I have the privilege to work very closely over the years within the structure of the ESR, and a man I'm pleased to call a good friend, Professor Luis Donoso Bach from Barcelona, Spain, has undoubtedly made great contribution to research and literature, but his unique leadership skills have also had an enormous impact on the field. He served as president of the European Society of Radiology from 2015 to 2016, and rarely has there been a president of ESR or any other society with such a calm, stabilizing influence and understated confidence. Aspect of his personality, along with his excellent humor, that his many colleagues have come to know and love. He has also brought these qualities to the presidencies of both the Spanish Society of Radiology, SERAM, and Spanish Foundation of Radiology, and therefore made a lasting impression on radiology in his own country. Luis, I thank you dearly for everything you have done for the ESR and for so many others, and I hope you will enjoy our unique creation, especially for you. Luis, please come on stage.
dear Lorenzo, dear colleagues, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to be here this evening to receive this gold medal from the ESR. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to my friends of the Executive Committee for selecting me for this honor. I have the utmost consideration for the ESR. Probably no other organization in the world does as good job on promoting and protecting the role of our profession as the ESR does for radiology. Other organizations in other countries, I can assure you, looks the ESR for leadership. I consider myself as part of the ESR family. The priceless opportunity I have had not only to participate in its foundation, but also collaborating in the ESR activities has been fundamental to my professional career and also, I would say also, that to my personal development. When I first attended an award ceremony at the ESR, not like this one, I was really impressed by the solemnity of the occasion. I never imagined that I would be here in the podium today. I realized that the reason why I'm standing here today is mainly related to the teamwork rather than my personal accomplishments. So I would like to especially thank the people in my department who enabled me to be away most of the time. I have always been able to count on the support of my family, my wife, Nuria, my 3 daughters, my 2 granddaughters, my 86-year-old mother, who is almost in perfect shape, also attending this ceremony today, feeling excited and proud of this award, I guess. As you can imagine, I'm an enthusiastic supporter of gender diversity. Last but not least, I would like to thank each and every member of the ESR office for their terrific work and especially for their warm friendship. I look forward to working together with you to build a stronger profession in the new area of AI in this global society. Thank you very much.
Charles, thank you.
Finally, our 3rd gold medal of this year goes to another good friend of mine and another wonderful servant of the ESR, Valentin Senitsyn from Moscow, Russia. I have had the very good fortune to work with Professor Senitsyn on a great many occasions in ESR and ECR-related capacities, and have always been struck by his enthusiasm and his depth of knowledge. He has made huge contributions to cardiac imaging, not only at home, but right around the world, and he has brought his passionate enthusiasm to many leadership roles, including presidency of the European Society of Cardiac Imaging and the European Congress of Radiology 2014, which I still remember as a superbly successful meeting. Perhaps most significantly, he has always exhibited a deep commitment to strengthening the connection between Russia and European countries and improving the standards of education and practice in both regions. In that regard, his impact on radiology has been huge. Valentin, in thanks for your wonderful contribution to the development of our specialty, this is our tribute to you. Please enjoy. Please join me on the stage.
Mr. President, dear friends, dear colleagues, I would like to begin by extending a thanks to ECR in general and to all ECR leaders who have considered me to be worthy of this acknowledgement. Actually, I cannot express how much this award means to me. Actually, last year, when I heard about it, of course, I was very much surprised, and I have never thought of being worthy to get it. But I must admit that I am very proud to be awarded with ECR Gold Medal, together with my two distinguished colleagues, Professor Louis Donoso Bach from Spain and Professor Anna Maria Belli from the Great Britain. And I'm feeling myself very privileged to be in company of such distinguished radiologists who get this award today, and many more who have got it before. I would like to confess that already a long time ago I have understood that ECR, European Society of Radiology and European Congress of Radiology, they become essential parts of my life. So ESR is always on my mind. Being involved in the activities for more than 2 decades, I have acquired so many true friends and met thousands of interesting people, and it's made me happy. I must admit this work in ECR deeply influenced myself as a person. I have grown up both professionally and intellectually. ECR and ECR people will stay in my heart and mind forever. And being nominated for this high award, I would also like to use this opportunity to thank all my colleagues from my native country, Russia. I hope that I served a lot to bring our radiology closer to European and international standards, and helped many of our radiologists to be involved into activities of the biggest society in the world. I have feelings that this award belongs to all radiologists from my great country. I wish this outstanding 25th Jubilee European Congress of Radiology every success, and once more I thank you very much for the honor of the ECR Gold Medal. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Valentin. Now, a last applause. It is time now for something quite different, a keynote speaker from far beyond the world of medical imaging. I think we all expect to broaden our horizons when we come to ECR, but very often we still limit those horizons to within the field of imaging. Therefore, we have invited a speaker whose application of cross-disciplinary thinking can serve as an inspiration for anyone in any field. And since one of our guests of our ESR Meets program at ECR 2019 is Africa, we have found someone with very strong ties to this continent. Sir David Ajayi is a Ghanaian British architect whose innovative work and exceptional skill have forged a career that has spanned the globe and won him many awards, including a knighthood for services to architecture in 2017. His diverse influences, ranging from art and music to science and civic life, have inspired him to bring fresh and deeply meaningful ideas to the design of a wide variety of buildings, from hospitals to skyscrapers. Among his many internationally acclaimed works are the Nobel Peace Center in Oslo, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Denver, the Moscow School of Management, and most famously, the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. Today, in his lecture entitled Building Publics, Sir David will share the creative process behind his work, as well as his professional and personal commitment to the social purpose of architecture and the design of civil buildings that connect communities. I am delighted to present you Sir David Adjaye. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's an incredible pleasure to be at your event and to see how heartfelt the room is for the great work that you're doing. I'm an architect. I'm motivated by making spaces, using architecture to create social justice, to create dignity, to bring edification into communities and into our cities. Our cities are growing so fast with our population's growing so exponentially, as we all know. And the need for architecture to be more than just technically capable, but being able to be part of the narratives of our lives, to be part of enhancing our lives is something that has been deeply inspiring to me. I'm going to show you just a couple of projects just to take you in from something very mundane to something very monumental, to give you a sense of how the everyday of architecture could be enhanced to be something that's very special for our communities. First project is in London, on the South Bank, and it was done about a decade ago when I was beginning my career and my practice. And it was really to make a project in response to the sort of digital world that we were entering in, but a response to the potential of architecture to return us back to our haptic, human sort of senses. In a way, we've become very interested in architecture with the digital and the ability for architecture to allow us to perform many tricks. But in a way, as the 21st century starts, I think this connection back to our humanity is even more profound. So I was asked to make a small project in a very busy square just behind the cultural center in South Bank. And I decided to make a project which I called Scalera, for the Italians, the Latin scalera, the inner eye, was an important thing to return back, a piece of work to return back to the body. In the form of it is really a very small vessel, I call a vessel, made out of very humble materials, timber, the most basic material that grows on our planet, and made from a timber that is usually discarded as a waste wood. And I wanted to use it to create an experience and a feeling that would be almost like an everyday temple for people to just respite and to disengage from the hustle and bustle of the everyday world and to just have a moment to be aware of the sun, the wind, the light, and their environment. It's constructed out of thousands of pieces of timber that are almost brought together in a frozen composition, which makes this elliptical form. And it really just ends in just a sort of main room being a space, hopefully of wonder for people and a place to just reflect. This is the form of the building in its context. You can see that part of the South Bank, and this strange building was placed there for the summer. And it was an invitation for people to just enter. There was no agenda. It really was just there to encourage you to arrive. And once you entered, you encountered this architecture, this space, which forced you to look at the world, hopefully in a different way. It is actually not an interior. It is completely exterior. It is a loggia. It is 50% perforate. So the wind, it catches the wind, and the sunlight is broken down into a series of shafts that allow you to start to kind of see the light in a different way. It's not just reflected, but it's brought, almost drawn into the landscape. And what was beautiful for us to observe this pavilion with people was the way in which it caused families to stop. Mothers would bring their children and wait and just spend time in it. And people would come and read or to lie down and just be immersed in the very ordinariness of our environment, but the kind of moment where it has been made into something special for them to meditate on. This looks like a set-up picture, but actually it was done by the photographer who was there for a little bit of time, of people just coming in and out and spending time inside the volume of the building. And as the sun set, it created these beautiful moments where, because it's elliptoid and on the south side of the campus, it registered the rising and the setting of the sun and the way in which the building would sort of become a small addition to the context of the community there. The second project, which is a very monumental project, which was a competition in 2009, is the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Those of you who might not know it, the Smithsonian is probably the largest cultural institution, network of humanities, cultural, and science institutions in the world. 23 buildings covering everything from the arts to the sciences. And they are mostly on the Washington Mall, but also in the different sort of second and third tier cities in the US. The competition was to build finally, after 200 years of asking for representation, a museum dedicated to the narrative of the African American community in America and their contribution to the building and to the image of America. There have been many in that sort of 200-year time from the Declaration of Independence in America, which is a very critical time, to now. There have been many museums in all the other sort of cities trying to deal with this issue, but never one on the National Mall, never one on the front stage. And it has been a sort of fight by many congressmen and senators to really push this agenda, which finally tipped in 2009 at the end of George Bush's presidency. He gave the land on the mall to be a site for the museum. And then with the patronage of President Obama, who won the election in 2008, the funding was expressed through Congress to make this project happen. The project is a new kind of museum in the world, one that really looks at the story of migrations and our diverse cities, and one which is no longer about artifacts and precious objects taken from conquest or colonization, but one which talks about the empowerment of people and the contributions they make to the identities that we take for granted now. So in the museum, there are amazing things like the documentation of the Million Man March in Washington by Martin Luther King. And for me, what was beautiful was the way in which King really was not just in America, but was a global figure working in Africa, working across the world with disenchanted, disenfranchised groups to really build the agenda, which has really culminated in our sense of civil rights and really in our sense of human rights that we actually take for granted and talk about now. The museum celebrates the everyday, and everything in it is a real artifact. From the very first voting slip of the African American community, a sort of aunt who kept that in her wardrobe. Rosa Parks, an incredible woman who resisted the segregation of buses in the community, her dress, that famous dress that she wore that she got arrested in. And these objects were kept by the community. This is a museum that has been birthed by the community into the nation's consciousness by outreaching. When the museum was announced that it was going to be built, there was an outreach program to the community, and what was extraordinary was that they had about 3,000 objects. Most museums have about 40,000 objects in their collection, which justifies a museum. They only had 3,000 objects, but in the outreach, within 8 years, they now have 40,000 objects that have come from the people who've been waiting in their country for this moment to happen. And it shows how groundswells happen, and sometimes leadership is not aware, but how these things, when they find the right focus, become very powerful places in our community. The relationship, of course, of the Americas and the African American community is understood, West Africa being the key site of the extraction to the Americas, both to South America, the Caribbean, and North America. And in a way, the building is, for us, in my work and my studio, we decided to make a new kind of building in America, one that would celebrate the narrative of the story as part of the recognition of the building from its silhouette. So it is not a museum which is a very nice building with content in it that's inspiring. The idea is that the building is in itself, from first sight, something that relates to the narrative. A deep inspiration was this extraordinary sculptures of the Yoruba, the sort of one of probably the greatest empires at that time of the extraction in West Africa, and their incredible shrine houses where the stories of achievements of the empire were consecrated in caryatid abstract sculpture. This sculpture is now in many museums around the world, many museums in Europe. But to understand the meaning of these incredible structures within their context and how they were sacred and venerated spaces was something that I wanted to also bring back out to the public. And the crown, the sort of triple pyramid on the top of the figure that you see in color, it was a deep inspiration for the project. It was a way to link the narrative of the African American community back to Africa, but also to connect it to their beginnings in America, which is really through the act of labor. And for me, in the architecture of America, there was one image that was so profound to me about the image of labor in America, which is the architecture of the South, which had a veranda post architecture which related to their West African sort of cousins, as it were, but was predominantly made by African American slaves. In the North, factories produced this sort of prefabrication to make these buildings, the ironwork, but in the South, slaves learned by hand to make these extraordinary ironwork sculptures that adorned the grand houses and the buildings. And I wanted to celebrate that, and I wanted to see how that ability for this community that was seen as the lowest were able to have incredible skills to create the kind of most dignified buildings in the country. We have the last spot on the Washington Mall. The Washington Mall, if you know it, is a monumental plan that creates a series of cultural and memorial monuments in its heart and is surrounded by Congress, the White House, the monuments for the nation, Abraham Lincoln, Jefferson, etc. And we have the last spot that can be built on, completing a 200-year master plan program. Architecture is very slow. And now with our building, the master plan of the US is complete, and this building holds its ground in that place, observing 9 monumental views which celebrate the history of the nation, but also are used to talk through to make as a lens to understand the history of America. These are just my studies about the building and its form. It is a building which is like a sort of ritual that you procession through. It is not a palace type that you pass through a series of rooms, but an experience of geography and location. You descend down 140 feet into the ground and deal with history, and you rise gently. It's almost a mile walk through the history galleries to a place of respite, and then rise into the upper galleries, which talk about the other experiences. This is just a plan, and it's kind of context showing where it is at the end. These are just plans, and I know you are radiologists. I will not go through this in much detail, but just talking to you about the skin of the building, which is important, encapsulates the geometry of this West African motif, but also the intricacy of the labor of the South, fused into one element. The detail and the intricacy is inspired by the work of the slaves of the South. This is a panel that we found that was made by a slave by hand in sand casting, and we mapped it with computers to understand, almost as it were, the drawing, the sort of way in which he kind of created that ornament, and made a homage to him with our new casting, using exactly the same process that was used 200 years ago, sand casting, but now with computers and technology. We tessellated it, we mapped it, and we densified it to respond to the environment. So using technology, this building, which looks like an ornamental screen, is actually a highly responsive, the first sustainable gold leads building on the mall, mediating energy, mediating sunlight, using the resources of water. And this is just a diagram trying to show you, when you look at the images in a second of the Golden Building, the complexity of the matrix that surrounds it and the way in which it responds. Red being the places where people are and sites are most prevalent, dark blue being where people are not, and where shadow is kind of appreciated. And the whole thing is a solar sort of form that takes you through this journey. It has 3 tiers because the story, the curatorial story, is in three parts. History, the migration from the south to the cities, which was the beginning of freedom from slavery, but the ghettoization of those communities and the way in which those first professional classes sort of grew in those environments, and then how from those communities the extraordinary culture of music, the performing arts, politics, come from that as the third tier, which then allow us to see the world that it inhabits now. This is the building in its context. If you take that flight from Reagan, you will see the building in that sort of corner. It's that golden building in the corner next to Washington's monument. You'll see it as you look from Lincoln's Memorial. It's a sort of quiet bronze building next to Washington's large obelisk, which is, as you know, a monument from Karnak, from Africa. And from the White House, from the Lincoln bedroom, the building is the golden building in the left-hand corner that you always see as you wake up from that Lincoln bedroom. You always look at the Smithsonian as the last building next to Washington's monument, which is very special. The building from the reflecting pool here, looking at it in its context, and from Washington's monument. As I said, this building is the first truly sort of sustainable building that has kind of registered all the kind of accolades of the sustainable world. This is from 15th, looking down towards the building, and you realize that this building collects and moderates the sun. It creates a welcome porch that invites people to rest and to gather. It is the one spot where you have shade in the sort of midday sun, where in the summer you get incredibly humid temperatures in Washington, and it becomes a kind of gathering space for people to come together and to rest. The skin of the building, this is not a manipulated image, depending on the time of day, seems to be on fire, capturing the sort of golden color of the form, but at other times goes very dull and recedes. This is that moment that you enter and have shade. We designed it so that climatically, this form with this water creates an 8-degree temperature difference from the outside sun. So you can imagine it's almost like the first threshold even before you're in, and has become the most visited spot in the summer for communities. People just wait underneath this, not even going into the museum, but just having it as a respite for people visiting the mall. When you enter the vitrine, the building reveals itself. It's a building within a building, almost like a sort of Russian doll. The form, the content inside holds the information, the exhibits, and there are these windows that take you to the cardinal views that I explained earlier. It is a welcome space for everyone, and at the ground plane has these fantastic views all over the mall. And then when you've got your tickets, you descend first 40 feet down into a lower section via an incredible staircase or lifts that take you down to a space that then begins the journey of going into the history galleries, which are another 40 feet below. You're taken down through a sort of room-sized elevator, which takes you to the beginning of the 14th century, and you're taken through the moment of the extraction from Africa and the relationship and the struggle and the fights in a very compressed, almost confining, claustrophobic space. But then you're brought through history in that space, and then you were released at a certain moment into a very large hall where the Declaration of Independence is celebrated, and the paradox of the Declaration, Jefferson, this incredible man, but also the paradox of his extraordinary quantity of slaves. The boxes are the record holdings of the slaves that he owned at that time. The museum is set out as as an open book, not a singular narrative, where you're able to see history in all its forms. All the artifacts are real. The train was brought in and lowered into the building and can never be taken out. Houses were rebuilt from the south and brought in. And in small vitrines, you'll see the wedding rings of slave families, the beginning slave families, who used copper from brooms that their masters had given them, taking bits of copper from them and using that as wedding bands. All these incredible stories that have been held and have not been known in the public are now shared so that people can understand the depth and the sort of the oppression, but also the hope and and the kind of progress that has been made to this time. This is the journey that takes you through the different stages of the narrative, taking you to quiet places to read and reflect, but also giving you these extraordinary moments where you see history, a sort of recreation of the lunch counter, the resistance to the sort of segregation of food places in our communities. And you are brought into that moment and are allowed to read it. There are moments where you see Emmett Till's coffin, but also there are moments where you come and you are watching Barack Obama's inauguration, that incredible moment in 2008. A lot of people finish that sort of section of the museum extraordinarily traumatized or very tearful. It's a deep story that's compressed, and so we made a space for people to respite through after that in a chamber lined with copper and bronze. It's a 30-foot room with a giant waterfall that is a space of silence, but to hear the roar of water, one of the elements of the planet, but also an element that is a litmus of the African-American experience being taken across the ocean from Africa to America. And also the spirituality of the community and in its use of water as a kind of baptism of hope. We felt that this material, a celebration of water in its kind of in a majestic way, the way in which it is in waterfalls and nature, and reflecting on the words of Martin Luther King, who talked about the determination to work and fight until justice runs down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream, encapsulated as a physical experience for people to meditate in, is the inspiration behind this room. Up above, from the north side, the building sort of celebrates its form, but also invites you to see in. The oculus is what people are sitting in, but they can't see the content below until they've experienced the space that they go in. There are auditorium halls for work, and then you rise up into the upper galleries, seeing the light from that sort of different space. Very much bathed in the light, you rise into these galleries, and you see that you are now in the body of the museum as an experience of light and a meditation on the context that is around you. You move on the periphery of this museum. You're never in the heart, in the center. Your circulation is always on the periphery so that you're able to see where you are and to orientate yourself. And then you dive into the galleries from these circulation spaces into content. This space is about the community and its sort of evolution in cities and how it grows, and every time being given views across to the city to understand the relationship to the different monuments and how they are alive and affect the narrative today. Sport, very important. The military, one of the first big employers of the African American community. And this is a special room that we made to all the sort of soldiers of the revolution and now even the generals of America, people like Colin Powell, etc., and their relationship to Washington. In a very special room that we made where one is able to kind of use the context to also speak to the content in its interior. So depending on when you see it at the time of the day, you are able to reflect on the kind of reality of the world and the position of history. And this is this incredible window that makes that celebration. The gallery goes on to the upper levels where you realize the contribution of the community through their ghettoization, the explosion of culture that happens, which affects the whole world right now. The incredible celebration of music and stage and screen and the performing arts, which are central to now the American experience, which comes from this extraordinary journey, and now all celebrated in this museum and as a narrative for all the communities of America to enjoy and learn from. At the end, we made a very special moment because we believe that every journey should have an overview, that the architecture has a space, a balcony to the mall where you're able to have the most fantastic view, seeing the White House, and to look over the National Mall in this very privileged way. And it's a space to just come and see the kind of monumental landscape of the nation and to reflect on the story that you've just been through. And then there are terraces and genealogy libraries and places to reflect and work and to watch. The building is also not just there for the content, it's also a place to mark this position, this last position where a building can be in the city, completing this idea of the Founding Fathers of America and this idea of creating a landscape that memorializes the diversity of the country and all its people. So that's the project. At night, it's the only building that illuminates in its context. Because we put the circulation on the perimeter, we were able to use all the emergency lights to make a lantern. So we found a way to light our building in Washington, and so it glows as a beacon of hope in its context. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It has been touching our hearts and our brains. Thank you very much. Really a fascinating presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now nearing the end of this grand opening, but we are going to make the remaining time count by filling it with one of my greatest personal passions. Because, and I think many of you know, I like singing. First, we will hear from Doretta Carter and the Neue Wiener Stimmen, and then, since I love singing, but with a little help from my friends, we all will take a turn as well. I would like to take this opportunity to offer a special thanks to the Vienna Arts Orchestra, who have accompanied our singers so beautifully, and in particular to their conductor this evening, the very talented Alex Johansson. I will now hand you over once again to Doretta Carter, Alex Johansson, and the Vienna Arts Orchestra, and the Neue Wiener Stimmen, and the Wiener Sangeknaben. Doretta, please, where are you? The stage is yours.
I'm here, Lorenzo.
A new dress, a new haircut, wonderful.
A girl has to do what a girl has to do.
Yeah.
Heaven knows I was such a young girl. Didn't know what I wanted to be. Didn't know what I wanted to be. I had every little hungry schoolgirl's pride and joy, and I guess it was enough for me. I guess it was enough for me. To win the race, a prettier face, brand new clothes, and the big fat blaze on the rock and roll TV. Rock and roll TV. But today, the way I play the game is not the same, no way. I think I'm gonna make myself happy. I'm gonna make myself happy. I think there's something you should know. I think it's time I told you so. There's something deep inside of me. There's someone else I've got to be. Take out your pictures in the frame. Just like your painting in the rain. I just hope you understand. Sometimes the clothes do not make the man. All we have to do now is take these lies and make them true somehow. All we have to see is that I don't belong to you and you don't belong to me. Yeah, yeah, freedom. I won't let you down. Freedom. I won't let you down. But I'll give you a freedom. You gotta give for what you take. myself. Well, if you shake your ass, they notice fast. Some good things are meant to last. That's what you get. That's what you get. I say that's what you get. I say that's what you get. That's what you get for changing your mind. That's what you get for changing. That's what you get. That's what you get. That is what you get. I just hope you understand that sometimes the clothes do not make the man. All we have to do now is take these lies and make them true somehow. All we have to see is that I don't belong to you and that you don't belong to me. Yeah, yeah, freedom, freedom, oh freedom. You got to give for what you take. Freedom, I won't let you down. Freedom, ain't gonna give you freedom. You got to give for what you take. Freedom, freedom. Okay, my guests. Put your hands together on 2 and 4, people. Come on. Freedom, freedom, freedom. And everybody sing with the choral. Freedom, 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 freedom. Yeah, people, let's keep it funky. Oh, freedom, freedom, freedom. Now sing a little louder, people. Freedom, I won't let you down. Freedom, ain't gonna give you up. Gotta have something in the sound. It's the only thing that I got. I won't let you down. Freedom, ain't gonna give you up. 'Cause I would really love to stick around. Freedom, I won't let you down. Ain't gonna give you up. Hear your favorite sound, it is the only thing that I got. I won't let you down. Ain't gonna give you up. Yeah, won't give it to me one more time. Freedom, I won't let you down. Freedom, ain't gonna give you up. Everybody sing freedom, freedom. Jacqueline, Betty, Carl.
Well,
A wonderful chorus. Thank you.
thank
Brava,
you.
brava.
I am arrived at the last page of my book. But before the final act comes alive, I must repeat that I like to sing in company with all my friends. And although I have been alone on stage for much of this evening, it is important to point out that the ECR is absolutely not a one-man band. In fact, I am what you may call the front man of a large and talented orchestra of players. The members of the Program Planning Committee, along with the entire staff of the ESR office in Vienna, have all done incredible work behind the scenes to bring this Congress to life. So I would like to ask all my fellow Program Planning Committee members who are in the audience, those who have been for 2 years a part of my journey through this and coming to this time and coming to here, to come and join me on the stage. Please, don't be shy and come. Because I need your help. If you are too shy, you will not be. So, someone is coming? Okay, thank you, someone is coming. A good, strong applause. Gosha, please. Okay, now I would like also to ask for your help, because I want everybody of us be active part of the bigger picture. All together, please join on the chorus and let everybody feel that special unity of our radiological family. Nothing you can sing that can be sung.
Nothing you can say that you can learn how to play the game. It's easy.
All together.
Take the gap. Nothing you can say that can't be said.
Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time.
It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. There's no way you can be that isn't be there.
Nothing you can see that isn't shown.
No way you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. It's easy. All you need is love.
Everybody!
All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love.
You!
All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Love is all you need.
Love is all you need.
Love is all you need.
Love is all you need.
Love is all you need.
She loves you.
Love is all you need. 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 Love is all.
Yes, baby.
All you need is love. Love. Love.
And this is the end. But if you go on clapping a little bit more, I think Doretta has an encore ready. Come on, applause, a long applause to Doretta. And again, a little bit of help from you. Just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit.
Just have a good time. Yes. What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know that I got it. All I'm asking for is just a little respect, just a little bit. Yeah, baby, a little respect, just a little bit, just a little bit. Ain't gonna be wrong while you're gone. Ain't gonna do you wrong because I don't wanna. All I'm asking for is just a little respect, just a little bit. Yeah, baby, a little respect, just a little bit, just a little bit. I'm about to give you all my money. All I'm asking in return, honey, is that you give me my profits when I get home. Yeah, baby, gonna give me when I get home. Yeah, yeah. Your kisses, sweet and honey. Get right, so is my money. All I'm asking for, yeah, respect. Real respect. Just a little bit, just a little bit. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, take out T-C-B. Oh, just a little respect. Just a little respect. I'm trying, you keep lying. I had it, and I won't find it. Come on, give me my proper respect. You gotta give me just a little respect. Just a little bit respect. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit respect. Thank you to this wonderful orchestra, Alex Johansson, our big boss. Thank you.